Greetings all, I am Brother Dabai. Last time I spoke of my failed venture in the land of Laos. On my journey home, all my silver was robbed clean. Worse yet, I was mistaken for a thief. Truly, fate toyed with me again and again. Even drinking cold water would chip my teeth. Fortunately, the misunderstanding was cleared in the end. With the travel money given by a kind soul, I finally returned to my hometown unseen for 20 long years. Yet upon my return, I found to my dismay, the very land of my family estate had been sold to another. The beer claimed to hold rightful deed in black and white. Though grievance filled my chest, I could do naught but swallow my anger. For in this age, all things must bow before evidence. With no other path, I gathered what few belongings remained to my name. Once more, I set forth upon the road in search of a new life. I wandered along a desolate country path, with no destination in sight. On both sides stretched wastelands thick with wild weeds. It seemed long since any man had tilled them. The sun blazed overhead. Thirst and weariness gnawed at me. In my heart I pondered, I must swiftly find a place to rest my weary bones. Now, what I needed most was but a patch of unclaimed earth. A place where I might build a humble shelter from wind and rain. Just as despair began to shadow my heart, I chanced upon a mother and daughter in the distance. Seeing my ragged and wretched state, they first eyed me with wary suspicion. I hastened forward and recounted to them my misfortune. Every detail I told them without concealment. How I failed in business while in Laos and returned home, only to be robbed of all coin on the way. How upon reaching my village, even my ancestral land was seized by others. At this point, my own eyes could not help but brim with tears. Hearing my tale of woe, the mother and daughter's weary gaze softened into pity. In that moment, I felt as though I had grasped a lifeline. I hurriedly inquired of them where this road might lead, and whether there was any land nearby intended by man. I wished only to find a place where I could build a small hut and settle down to live in peace. The mother pointed ahead and said, "Follow this road straight on, and thou shalt reach the forest yet ahead. There seemeth to stand an ancient ruined house. It hath been forsaken for many years. If thou art willing, thou may go and take a look." Hearing these words, my spirit was suddenly lifted. Under their guidance, we passed through a dense thicket of shrubs. Soon we arrived at our destination. It was a house that appeared as though a single gust might topple it, a bamboo and timber dwelling of old. A corner of the roof had collapsed, and the walls leaned askew and weary. Though the house was in ruins, it was still a place where one might rest his feet. After exchanging a few simple words with the kind mother and daughter, I bid them farewell with heartfelt gratitude. Standing before the old house, my heart churned with mixed emotions. Though the place was worn and desolate, at last I had a roof to shield me from wind and rain. Setting down my bundle, I began to survey what would soon be my home. A thick layer of dust cloaked the floor within, and cobwebs draped every corner of the wall. I inspected every nook and beam, and though old and frail, the structure still stood strong in its bones. In the kitchen, I found an iron pot, rusted yet whole. Though one of its handles was broken, still with a bit of washing, it might yet serve me to make a life here. There was much labor yet to be done. Yet since fate had brought me here, I would abide. Rolling up my sleeves, I began to sweep and cleanse the place. Within the room stood a crooked wooden table, its legs nearly giving way. Yet after a bit of fixing, it could still serve as a dining table. After toiling for half the day, the house was at last somewhat in order. By then, my stomach began to growl with hunger. So I made my way toward the nearby forest. To my surprise, in the stream behind the house, there were many crabs. In a short while, I caught 4 of them. Plump and lively creatures. At last, it seemed I could improve my supper this night. Returning home, I lit a fire and began to boil the crabs. But to my dismay, the pot's handle was not the only flaw. There was a hole in its bottom as well. Water leaked out with a steady hiss. Truly, when misfortune comes, it never comes alone. Still, after much struggle, I managed to cook the crabs through. I placed them neatly upon the mended bamboo table. Though my surroundings were humble, the fragrance of crab filled the air. I could not help but swallow my drool. Cracking open the shell, I beheld golden crab roe, full and rich. Its flesh was tender and sweet. This was the first proper meal I had eaten since returning to my homeland. Though simple and fair, it moved me nearly to tears. After the meal, I began to plan the days to come. The sky was already dimming, so I first cleared a small space where I might lay down and rest. From this night forth, I vowed to turn this ruined house into a warm and welcoming home. Though the road ahead was hard, I believed that as long as I did not yield, life would one day grow brighter. In the next chapter, see how I shall, with my own hands, transform this forsaken house of old and begin anew the journey of life.